The crystal champagne flute shattered against the marble floor, spraying expensive French wine across the white Persian rug like blood spatter at crime scene. Amara stood frozen in the doorway of her own living room, her shopping bag slipping from numb fingers, staring at the scene that would destroy her perfect life. Her husband Chike naked on their Italian leather sofa, entangled with a woman whose face she couldn't see yet, until a woman turned around. What would you do if you walked in on this? Hit like if you've been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. It wasn't just any woman. It was Ngozi, her mother-in-law's housegirl, the 23-year-old who'd been living under their roof for 6 months, supposedly sent by Chike's mother to help around the house in their sprawling banana island estate in Lagos, Nigeria. Amara. Chike scrambled up, his expensive watch catching the afternoon sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Lagos lagoon. Don't! Amara's voice came out steady, cold as the air conditioning that kept their luxury apartment at exactly 22 degrees. Don't say my name with that mouth. Ngozi grabbed a throw pillow, her eyes wide with something that looked less like shame and more like calculation. That's when Amara noticed it. The girl wasn't even trying to run. She was waiting. Amara had spent the morning at the Palms shopping mall in Lekki, buying ingredients for the anniversary dinner she planned for tonight. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of playing the perfect wife to Amara Okonkwo, the tech entrepreneur whose company had just been valued at $50 million. 7 years of enduring his mother Obiageli's constant criticism, her pointed comments about Amara's Igbo not being pure enough, her cooking not traditional enough, her inability to give Chike a son after their daughter Adiz, the infidelity in marriage she could have imagined. Lagos was full of rich men with wandering eyes. But this level of domestic betrayal in her own home with someone her mother-in-law had personally placed here? How long? Amara demanded, her designer heels clicking against marble as she stepped over broken glass, moving closer. Her hands trembled, but her voice didn't. Baby, it's not. Chike started. 6 months. Ngozi interrupted, meeting Amara's eyes with shocking boldness. Since the day I arrived. The room tilted. 6 months of eating dinner together. 6 months of Amara teaching this girl how to use the washing machine, showing her kindness. 6 months of betrayal served daily alongside jollof rice and plantains. Chike's phone buzzed on the coffee table. The screen lit up a message preview that made Amara's blood run cold. Obiageli, did she catch you yet? Proceed as planned. His mother knew. His mother had orchestrated this. Something snapped inside Amara, like a high-tension wire finally giving way. The cheating spouse she could divorce. But this was warfare. This was emotional manipulation designed to break her, to drive her out without a settlement, to paint her as a hysterical wife while Chike kept his reputation and his money intact. The fury that rose in her chest was molten, ancient, unstoppable. 3 hours later, Amara would kick her mother-in-law in that very same living room, in front of a dozen witnesses. 1 week later, she would stand at Obiageli Okonkwo's funeral, tears streaming down her face, while Lagos society whispered about what really happened. But right now, standing in her shattered marriage with broken glass at her feet, Amara made a decision that would change everything. She wouldn't just leave. She wouldn't just divorce him. She would make them all pay. Get out, she said quietly to Ngozi. Pack your things and get out of my house. This isn't your house, Ngozi replied, glancing at Chike. Is it? The title deed was in his name. Everything was in his name. Amara had been so in love, so trusting, she'd never thought to protect herself. That would be her last mistake. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below where you're watching from. The evening air hung thick and humid over Banana Island as Amara sat alone in the dark on her bedroom balcony, watching the lights of Lagos flicker across the water. She hadn't moved in 3 hours, not since Chike had finally left to his mother's house, naturally, taking Ngozi with him like she was luggage he'd purchased and had every right to claim. Her phone had been ringing nonstop, her sister Zainab calling from Abuja, her best friend Funmi, even her own mother, somehow already informed of the scandal despite it happening only hours ago. Amara ignored them all. She needed silence to think, to plan, to transform this rage into something useful. The door to the bedroom creaked open. Amara didn't turn around. "Mummy?" 7-year-old Adi's small voice cut through the darkness. "Why are you sitting in the dark?" Amara's heart cracked. She'd forgotten to pick Adi's up from her ballet class. The driver must have brought her home. How much had her daughter heard? How much had the staff already gossiped about? "Come here, my love." Amara opened her arms, and Adi's climbed into her lap, her small body fitting perfectly against her mother's chest the way it had since birth. She smelled like baby powder and innocence. "Where's Daddy?" Daddy had to go help Grandma with something. The lie tasted bitter. "Is he coming back?" Amara held her daughter tighter. "I don't know, baby." They sat like that until Adiz fell asleep, and Amara carried her to bed, tucking her in with the pink unicorn blanket she'd had since she was 2. Standing in the doorway watching her daughter sleep, Amara felt the full weight of what she was fighting for. Not the house, not the money, not even her pride. Her daughter's future, her daughter's stability, her daughter's understanding of what a woman should accept and what she should fight against. By the time Amara returned to the master bedroom, she'd made up her mind. She powered on her phone and opened her messages, scrolling past a concerned text from family and friends until she found what she was looking for, a number she'd saved 2 years ago and never thought she'd use. Barrister Adebayo Mensah, the most ruthless divorce lawyer in Lagos, known for destroying cheating husbands in court and extracting settlements that made grown men weep. She'd met him at a charity gala where he'd given her his card and said, "I hope you never need me, but Lagos wives usually do." She typed quickly, "I need to see you first thing tomorrow morning. It's urgent." The response came within minutes. "My office, 8 a.m., come prepared to fight." Amara was just setting down her phone when she heard it. The sound of the front gate opening, a car pulling into the compound. She moved to the window and looked down at the circular driveway illuminated by sensor lights. A black Mercedes she didn't recognize. The driver's door opened, and out stepped Obiageli Okonkwo, Chike's mother, dressed in full traditional attire despite the late hour, wrapper and blouse and expensive ankara, her head wrapped elaborately, gold dripping from her neck and wrists like she was attending a coronation instead of a confrontation. Behind her, from the passenger side, emerged someone Amara hadn't expected. Chike's younger brother Emeka, holding what looked like official documents in a leather folder. This wasn't a family visit. This was an ambush. Amara's phone buzzed with a message from Juliet, her housekeeper. "Madam, Mama is here with Oga's brother. They say you must see them now, or they will wake the whole street. Public disgrace. The oldest weapon in a Nigerian mother-in-law's arsenal. Make noise, make a scene, make the neighbors believe you're the problem." Amara looked at herself in the bedroom mirror. Her eyes were red but dry. Her Chanel dress from this morning's shopping trip was wrinkled. She looked like exactly what she was. A betrayed wife at the end of her rope. Perfect. She changed quickly into a simple dress, wrapped her hair in a scarf, and made sure she looked humble, broken, sympathetic. Let them think they'd won. Let them think she was defeated. She walked down the curved staircase slowly, hand trailing along the mahogany banister. Obiageli and Emeka waited in the living room. The same room where, just hours ago, Amara had discovered the infidelity that would end her marriage. Obiageli didn't stand when Amara entered. That was intentional. A power play, showing disrespect in what was technically still Amara's home. "Sit down," Obiageli commanded, pointing to a chair opposite the sofa, like Amara was a visitor in her own house. "No." Amara remained standing. "Say what you came to say." Emeka opened the leather folder, pulling out documents. "These are divorce papers. My brother asked me to deliver them personally. He's willing to give you a settlement of 5 million naira and let you keep your car. In exchange, you leave quietly, you don't contest custody, and you sign a non-disclosure agreement about the circumstances of the separation. 5 million naira, about $12,000. For 7 years of marriage, for carrying his child, for building his home, for enduring his mother. It was an insult designed to provoke her into a reaction they could use against her later. Amara laughed, actually laughed. The sound surprised even her, cold and sharp as a blade. "You think I'm stupid," she said quietly. You think because I've been quiet, been patient, been the good wife, that I don't understand what you're doing. Obiageli's eyes narrowed. Be careful how you speak to me, girl. Or what? Amara took a step closer. You'll do what you've already done? Destroy my marriage? Send your house girl to seduce my husband? Orchestrate this whole betrayal to push me out without proper compensation. You have no proof. Emeka started. I have Chike's phone records. I have text messages. I have your mother's message on his phone from this afternoon. Did she catch you yet? Proceed as planned. Amara watched Obiageli's face pale. I forwarded it to myself before Chike left. The silence that followed was delicious. That proves nothing, Obiageli said, but her voice had lost its certainty. Maybe not in court, Amara agreed, but on social media, on the blogs, in the churches and society parties where your reputation means everything. She smiled without warmth. Nigerian Twitter would love the story. Tech millionaire's mother pimps house girl to destroy son's marriage. Very modern, very viral. You wouldn't dare, Obiageli hissed. Standing up now, all pretense of calm gone. You would destroy your own daughter's name, drag your family through shame. You already did that when you planted a mistress in my home. Amara's voice was steel. Now I'm just deciding how much you'll pay for it. Obiageli moved fast for a woman in her 60s, crossing the room with fury in her eyes, her hand raised to strike. But Amara was faster. Years of yoga had kept her flexible, strong. When Obiageli's hand came down, Amara caught her wrist, twisted it gently but firmly, and in one fluid motion fueled by months of swallowed insults and years of quiet rage, she kicked her mother-in-law. Not hard, not violently, but squarely in the shin, enough to send Obiageli stumbling backward into Emeka's arms, enough to shock everyone in the room, including Amara herself. Get out of my house, Amara said into the stunned silence. And tell your son I'll see him in court. Obiageli's face had gone from shock to something darker, something that looked almost like satisfaction. As Emeka helped her toward the door, she turned back with a smile that made Amara's skin crawl. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. Obiageli said softly, I tried to be merciful. Now you'll see what happens to women who disrespect this family. They left, the Mercedes disappearing into the Lagos night, and Amara stood in the empty living room wondering if she'd just won a battle or walked into a trap. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Mrs. Okonkwo? A woman's voice, professional. Cold. This is Dr. Patience Okafor from Lagoon Hospital. I'm calling about Obiageli Okonkwo. She's been admitted to our emergency room with a severe cardiac episode. Your husband listed you as next of kin. You need to come immediately. The phone slipped from Amara's hand. What do you think? Did Amara go too far? Drop a comment with your thoughts. And don't forget to share this story with someone who loves intense African drama. Hit that subscribe button to see what happens next. The fluorescent lights of Lagoon Hospital's emergency wing buzzed overhead like angry insects as Amara rushed to the sliding glass doors at 11:47 p.m. Her driver, Solomon, had broken every traffic law, getting her from Banana Island to Victoria Island in 15 minutes. The Mercedes weaving through late-night Lagos traffic, while Amara's mind raced faster than the engine. She's faking it, Amara told herself. This is another manipulation. Obiageli is fine. But the small, guilty voice in the back of her head whispered, what if she's not? What if you killed her? The receptionist directed her to the intensive care unit on the 3rd floor. Amara's heels clicked against sterile tiles as she navigated a maze of corridors, the smell of antiseptic sharp in her nose. She'd changed into a modest dress and tied a scarf over her hair, the picture of a concerned daughter-in-law, not a woman who'd kicked her mother-in-law 2 hours ago. The waiting area outside the ICU was already crowded. Chike stood by the vending machines, still in the same clothes from this afternoon, his face gray with exhaustion or guilt or both. Emeka paced near the windows, phone pressed his ear. 3 of Obiageli's sisters, the fearsome Okonkwo aunties who'd never liked Amara, sat in plastic chairs like a tribunal, their eyes tracking her approach with undisguised hostility. You have nerve showing your face here, and Ifeoma said loudly enough for the entire floor to hear. She was the eldest, the one who'd insisted at Amara and Chike's wedding that the bride price wasn't high enough, after what you did to our sister. I came as soon as I heard, Amara started, that she might die from the attack you launched on her. Aunt Ngozi. Yes, the girl had been named after this particular aunt. Amara realized now, seeing the full scope of conspiracy, stood up, her wrapper rustling with indignation. In her own son's house, you assaulted a woman old enough to be your mother. Other families in the waiting area turned to stare. A nurse at the station looked up from her computer. This was exactly what the Okonkwos wanted. Witnesses, an audience, public disgrace that would paint Amara as the villain in this story. That's not what happened, Amara said quietly, but her voice sounded weak even to her own ears. Then what happened? Chike finally spoke, his voice hoarse. He moved toward her, and for a moment, Amara saw the man she'd married, tired, confused human. Then his eyes hardened. My mother came to have a peaceful conversation with you about our marriage, and you physically attacked her. Now she's in there. He pointed at the ICU doors, fighting for her life. A peaceful conversation? Amara's voice rose despite herself. She came to force me to sign away my rights, to accept pennies after 7 years, to take my daughter from me. Our daughter, Chike corrected coldly. And after tonight, after what you've done, no judge in Lagos will give you custody. Violent, unstable, attacking elderly women. The ICU door swung open, cutting off his words. A doctor emerged, pulling off latex gloves, her face professionally neutral. Dr. Patience Okafor, according to her name tag. The same woman who'd called Amara, family of Obiageli Okonkwo. Everyone moved at once, crowding around the doctor. Amara hung back, suddenly aware that she might be the only person in this corridor who didn't want Obiageli to survive. The thought made her sick with shame. She's stable for now, Dr. Okafor said, and the collective exhale from the Okonkwo family was audible. But it was serious. She suffered acute coronary syndrome, essentially a severe heart attack triggered by extreme emotional distress and physical trauma. Physical trauma, Aunt Ifeoma repeated, looking directly at Amara. You hear that? Physical trauma. Mrs. Okonkwo has a pre-existing heart condition, the doctor continued, consulting her tablet. Congestive heart failure, diagnosed 3 years ago. She's been on medication, but tonight's stress overwhelmed her system. The physical altercation, she paused, clearly uncomfortable. The kick to her leg caused her fall. The fall, combined with the emotional shock and her elevated blood pressure, triggered the cardiac event. The waiting room went silent. Even the vending machine stopped humming. Can we see her? Emeka asked. Immediate family only, 2 at a time. She's sedated but conscious. Dr. Okafor's eyes found Amara. She's been asking for her daughter-in-law. Chike laughed, a bitter, ugly sound. Absolutely not. She's not going anywhere near my mother. Actually, Dr. Okafor said carefully, Mrs. Obiageli was quite insistent. She said she needs to speak with Amara. Alone. The Andes erupted in protest, but something in the doctor's tone suggested this wasn't a request. Amara felt ice water flood her veins. Why would Obiageli want to see her? To curse her with her dying breath? To extract some final humiliation? Or to finish what she'd started? I'll go, Amara heard herself say. Over my dead body. And Ifeoma started. It's the patient's explicit wish, Dr. Okafor interrupted firmly. And she has the right to choose her visitors. Mrs. Amara Okonkwo, please follow me. Amara walked past Chike, past the Annies, past Emeka's hostile stare, following the doctor through the ICU doors into a world of beeping machines and hushed emergencies. They stopped at a private room at the end of the corridor, glass wall but with the curtains drawn. 5 minutes, Dr. Okafor said. She's weak. Don't upset her. Don't upset her. As if Amara had any power left in this situation. The doctor opened the door, and Amara stepped inside. Obiageli looked small in the hospital bed, diminished without her elaborate attire and gold jewelry. Tubes ran from her arms to 4 bags. Monitors tracked her heartbeat in glowing green lines. But her eyes, Her eyes were sharp as ever when they fixed on Amara. "Close the door," Obiageli whispered. Amara did, her hands shaking. "Come closer." I can't speak loudly. Every instinct screamed at Amara to run, but she moved to the bedside, staying just out of reach. Obiageli's lips curved into something that might have been a smile if it wasn't so cold. "You think you're clever, don't you? Threatening to expose us, fighting back instead of crawling away quietly. I only defended myself. You played right into my hands." Obiageli's voice was growing stronger, less weak than she pretended. "Do you know what this looks like? A young woman assaulting her elderly mother-in-law, putting her in a hospital, nearly killing her? The courts, the churches, society, everyone will side with me now. You've destroyed yourself." Amara's chest tightened. She'd been so focused on having evidence, on fighting back. She hadn't considered this angle. In Nigerian culture, respecting your elders wasn't just tradition, it was law, social currency, moral imperative. No matter what Obiageli had done, the fact that Amara had physically struck her would overshadow everything. "Why?" Amara asked, her voice breaking. "Why do you hate me so much? What did I ever do to you?" Obiageli's face hardened. "You were never good enough for my son. Wrong family, wrong connections, too independent, too educated. Women like you think marriage is partnership. It's not. It's service, sacrifice, submission. I tried to teach you, but you wouldn't learn. So I had to remove you. By destroy your own son's marriage? By turning him into an adulterer? My son will survive with his reputation intact. Men always do." Obiageli coughed, and for a moment she looked genuinely weak. "But you'll be the villain in this story. The unstable wife who attacked her innocent mother-in-law. And when I die—" "You're not dying," Amara said automatically. Obiageli's smile widened. "Everyone dies eventually, dear. But when I do, whether it's tonight or next week or next month, you'll be the last person who touched me violently. The woman who kicked me. The woman who stopped my heart." She paused, letting that sink in. "Tell me, how do you think that will look to the police? To custody judges? To my son?" The room spun. This was a trap. This had always been the trap. Obiageli had come to Amara's house tonight, knowing she would react, hoping for a confrontation physical enough to use as ammunition. And Amara had given it to her. "You're evil," Amara whispered. "I'm a mother protecting her family. There's a difference." Obiageli closed her eyes, exhaustion finally seeming real. "Now get out. And know this, you've already lost. The only question is how much you'll lose. Your daughter, your reputation, your freedom if I press charges. It's all mine to take now." Amara stumbled backward, hit the door handle, fled into the corridor. Dr. Okafor was waiting, concerned. "Is everything all right? I need to leave. Now." Amara pushed past the doctor, past the nursing station, running now through corridors she'd walked through 20 minutes ago. Behind her, she heard shouting, Chike calling her name, Emeka yelling for security. But she didn't stop until she burst through the emergency room doors into humid Lagos night. Solomon was waiting with the car. Bless him, and she collapsed into the back seat. Home. Quickly. As they pulled away from the hospital, Amara's phone rang. Barrister Mensah, even at midnight. "I heard about the incident at the hospital," he said without preamble. "We need to meet first thing in the morning. And Mrs. Okonkwo? Don't speak to anyone else without me present. Not your husband, not the police, not anyone. Do you understand?" "Yes," Amara whispered. "Good. Because this just became a criminal matter, not just a divorce. We need to prepare for the worst." The call ended. Through the car window, Lagos streamed past. The city she loved, the city she built a life in, now feeling like enemy territory. Somewhere in the distance, she heard a siren. Police or ambulance, she couldn't tell. Her phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. Just 2 words that made her blood run cold. "We know." Attached was a video file. With trembling hands, Amara opened it. Security camera footage from her living room, time-stamped 2 hours ago. Crystal clear video of Amara kicking Obiageli, of the older woman falling, of Emeka rushing to help her. But the audio was missing. All the context. Everything Obiageli had said, everything that had provoked the moment, gone. Just the image of a young woman attacking her elderly mother-in-law. Another text arrived. Apologize publicly and accept the divorce terms by tomorrow noon, or this goes to every blog, every TV station, and the police. Your choice. Amara stared at the phone until the screen went dark, her reflection ghostly in the black glass. She thought she was fighting back. Instead, she'd handed them the weapon to destroy her completely. This story is getting intense. What would you do in Amara's position? Comment below and hit that like button if you're hooked. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what happens next. Morning came too quickly, dragging Amara from restless sleep into a reality worse than her nightmares. Sunlight streamed through the bedroom window she'd forgotten to curtain, harsh and unforgiving on her swollen eyes and tear-stained pillows. Her phone showed 6:47 a.m. and 63 missed calls. She lay there for a moment, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy rotation, remembering a time when this bedroom had felt like sanctuary. Now it felt like a crime scene where she was both victim and accused. Adi's voice drifted from downstairs. Her daughter was awake, probably asking Juliet where her parents were, why the house felt different, why the air tasted like endings. Amara forced herself up, showered mechanically, dressed in a navy blue suit that said respectable woman, good mother, not a criminal. Her reflection in the mirror looked hollow but determined. She had 3 hours until Barrister Mensah's deadline and 5 hours until the Okonkwo family's ultimatum. 3 hours to figure out how to survive this. The dining table was set for 1. Juliet's quiet way of showing loyalty without saying anything that could be used against her later. The staff knew which way the wind was blowing. Soon they'd all be looking for new positions, giving statements to lawyers, choosing sides in a war they never asked to join. Mummy. Adiz ran in wearing her school uniform, backpack bouncing. Are you taking me to school today? Amara's heart cracked. School. Normal life. Things that seem impossible now, but had to continue for her daughter's sake. Not today, baby. Solomon will take you. Mummy has important meetings. She pulled Adiz into her arms, breathing in her daughter's innocence while she still could. But I'll pick you up this afternoon. We'll get ice cream, okay? Can we get the one with chocolate and strawberry? We can get whatever you want. After Adiz left, the house fell silent, except for Juliet clearing dishes in the kitchen. Amara sat alone with her coffee, staring at the blackmail video on her phone. She'd watched it 17 times during the night, analyzing every frame, looking for anything that might help. The camera angle was perfect, positioned to capture maximum guilt with minimum context. Whoever had access to security footage knew exactly what they were doing. Probably Emeka, who'd always been tech-savvy. Or Chike himself, who'd installed the system 2 years ago. Her phone rang. Barrister Mensah. My office in 30 minutes, he said curtly. And I mean my office, not a restaurant or your house. We need privacy and legal privilege for what we're about to discuss. His office was in Victoria Island, a sleek glass tower that housed some of Lagos's most powerful lawyers. Amara had Solomon drive her through morning traffic, past the street vendors setting up for the day, past the Danfo buses belching exhaust, past the normal life of city that wouldn't stop for her crisis. Barrister Adebayo Mensah was exactly as she remembered, mid-50s, sharply dressed in traditional Igbada, despite the modern setting, eyes that missed nothing. His office overlooked the Lagos harbor, ships moving like chess pieces across blue water. Sit, he commanded, gesturing to a leather chair across from his massive desk. And tell me everything. Not the version you want to be true, the version that actually happened. So Amara did. She told him about finding Chike and Ngozi, about Obiageli's message on Chike's phone, about the late-night visit and the insulting divorce offer, about the confrontation that ended with her kicking her mother-in-law. She told him about the hospital, about Obiageli's confession that it was all orchestrated, about the blackmail video. Mensah listened without interrupting, his fingers steepled under his chin. When she finished, he was silent for a long moment. The video, he finally said, Send it to me? Amara forwarded it. He watched it twice, his expression unreadable. This is bad, he said bluntly, but it's not fatal. Yet. They want me to apologize publicly and accept their terms by noon. And if you do, you lose everything. Your daughter, your dignity, any chance at a fair settlement. He leaned back in his chair. But if you don't, they release this video. You become Lagos's most hated woman. And you probably face assault charges. Maybe even attempted murder if Obiageli's condition worsens. So I'm trapped. You're cornered. There's a difference. Mensah smiled thinly. Cornered animals fight hardest. The question is whether you're willing to fight dirty. What do you mean? He opened a drawer and pulled out a folder. I did some research last night after you called. The Okonkwo family is powerful, yes. Rich, yes. But powerful families have the most to hide. He slid the folder across the desk. Chike's company, Okon Tech Solutions. Do you know how he got his seed funding 7 years ago? Amara shook her head. Government contracts. Specifically, contract his mother secured through her connections in the Ministry of Technology. Contracts that were never publicly tendered. Contracts that violate procurement laws. He tapped the folder. I have a source in the EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. They've been investigating corruption in tech procurement for months. They'd love to have evidence. Amara's hands trembled as she opened the folder. Bank transfers, emails, contract documents, all showing a clear pattern of bribery and corruption funneling money from government coffers into Chike's business. This would destroy him, she whispered. It would destroy the entire family. Obiageli would face charges. Chike would lose everything. Emeka's law practice would be investigated. Mensah's eyes were cold. Mutually assured destruction. The only game worth playing when you're already destroyed. But I go down to, as his wife, former wife. You knew nothing about his business dealings. We'll make sure of that. You were the innocent spouse, kept in the dark, betrayed not just personally but financially. He leaned forward. Here's what I propose. We send this evidence to the Okonkwo family lawyers within the hour. We tell them that if they release that video, if they pursue custody, if they push any criminal charges, this all goes to the EFCC and every newspaper in Nigeria. We match their blackmail with our own. It was brilliant and terrible at the same time. Fight fire with fire. Burn everything down to save herself. There's one problem, Amara said slowly. Obiageli is in the hospital. If she dies, they'll blame you regardless of what you do now. Better to have leverage than martyrdom. Mensah's voice was pragmatic, almost gentle. Mrs. Okonkwo, I've been doing this for 25 years. I've seen women destroyed by playing fair against families who fight dirty. The question isn't whether this is moral. The question is whether you want to see your daughter grow up. Amara thought about Adiz asking about chocolate and strawberry ice cream, about her daughter testifying in court that her mother was violent, about growing up believing women should accept betrayal quietly. Do it, she said. Mensah nodded, already reaching for his phone. I'll have my associate draft a letter and send it within the hour. In the meantime, you go home, you say nothing to anyone, and you wait. Amara stood to leave, but Mensah stopped her. One more thing. If this gets ugly, and it will, you need to prepare yourself mentally. The Okonkwo family won't just attack your character. They'll attack your motherhood, your faithfulness, your sanity. They'll drag up every mistake you've ever made and invent ones you haven't. Can you survive that? Could she? Amara thought about 7 years of swallowing insults from Obiageli. 7 years of being the perfect wife while Chike took her for granted. 7 years of building a life that turned out to be built on sand. I already am surviving it, she said quietly. Back home, Amara paced the living room. The cursed living room where this had all exploded, waiting for Mensah's call. The morning stretched like taffy, minutes feeling like hours. At 10:37 a.m., her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Mrs. Okonkwo? A man's voice, professional, unfamiliar. This is Chief Inspector Oladil from the Lagos State Police Command. I'm calling regarding an incident that occurred last night involving you and Mrs. Obiageli Okonkwo. We'd like you to come to the station to give a statement." Amara's blood turned to ice. I'd like to have my lawyer present." "Of course. That's your right. But I should inform you that we have video evidence of the assault and multiple witnesses. The longer you delay, the worse this looks. Mrs. Obiageli's family has expressed interest in pressing charges." "What charges?" "Assault occasioning actual bodily harm, possibly attempted murder, depending on how her medical situation develops." He paused. "She took a turn for the worse this morning. Mrs. Okonkwo. She's back in intensive care. Her doctors say the next 24 hours are critical." The room spun. Amara grabbed the back of a chair to steady herself. "I'll have my lawyer contact you," she managed. "Do that. Soon. We'll be in touch." The call ended. Immediately, Amara dialed Mensa. "The police just called. They want me to come in for questioning. They mentioned attempted murder." Mensa cursed in Yoruba. "They're moving faster than I expected. Don't go anywhere. Don't answer any more calls. I'm sending the blackmail letter to the Okonkwo lawyers right now, and I'm coming to your house. We're going to war." But before Mensa could arrive, before the letter could land, before any of them could make another move, Amara's phone exploded with notifications. The video had been released. Not to police, not to lawyers, to everyone. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp groups. The security footage of Amara kicking Obiageli was everywhere, spreading through Lagos like wildfire. Already it had hashtags. Hashtag Banana Island Assault, hashtag Respect Your Elders, hashtag Justice for Obiageli. The comments were vicious. This generation of women have no respect. She attacked an old woman. Lock her up. Her husband was right to cheat. Look at her character. My mother-in-law annoys me too, but this is too far. Her phone rang. Zainab, her sister. Amara, what the hell? I'm seeing videos of you online. Click. Her mother calling. Amara, people are sending me this video. Say you attacked Chike's mother. Click. Fund me. Babe, the whole of Lagos is talking about you. You need to release a statement. Click. Unknown numbers, journalists, bloggers. Everyone wanted her side of the story, while already having convicted her in the court of public opinion. The doorbell rang insistently. Amara looked through the window. A news van was parked outside her gate, a reporter trying to get past security. Her phone pinged with an email. The subject line made her stomach drop. Statement from the Okonkwo family. She opened it with shaking hands. "It is with heavy hearts that we address the violent assault on our mother, Mrs. Obiageli Okonkwo, by her daughter-in-law Amara Okonkwo. Last night, during a peaceful family discussion, Amara physically attacked our mother, kicking her and causing her to suffer a severe heart attack. Our mother is currently fighting for her life in intensive care. We have tried to handle this matter privately, but the severity of the assault and Amara's complete lack of remorse have forced us to take legal action. We are cooperating fully with the police investigation and pray that justice will be served. We ask for privacy during this difficult time and prayers for our mother's recovery. The Okonkwo family. Peaceful family discussion. Complete lack of remorse. No mention of the affair, the setup, the blackmail. Just a simple story. Violent daughter-in-law attacks innocent mother-in-law. Amara sank to the floor, her back against the wall. Phone clutched in her hand as notification after notification poured in. Each one another nail in the coffin of her reputation. The doorbell rang again, more insistent now. Through the window, she could see more news vans arriving, reporters gathering like vultures. Her phone rang one more time. A number she recognized. Lagoon Hospital. Mrs. Okonkwo? Dr. Okafor's voice was strained. "I'm calling to inform you that Mrs. Obiageli Okonkwo's condition has deteriorated significantly. We're doing everything we can, but you should prepare yourself. The family is gathering now. They requested that you not come to the hospital." "Is she?" Amara couldn't finish the question. "The next few hours will tell. I'm sorry. I know this is complicated." The call ended. Amara sat in the wreckage of her life. Her reputation destroyed, her marriage over, her mother-in-law dying, her daughter's future uncertain, the police investigating her, the whole city against her, and for the first time since this nightmare began, she let herself break. She cried until no more tears would come. And then her phone rang one last time. Barrister Mensa. His voice was different now, urgent, almost excited. Turn on NTA News. Right now. Amara fumbled for the TV remote, switched to the national channel. A breaking news banner flashed across the screen. EFCC raids Okonkwo Solutions headquarters. Corruption investigation underway. Footage showed federal agents carrying boxes from Chike's office building. The news anchor's voice. Following an anonymous tip received this morning, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has launched a full investigation into Okonkwo Solutions and its founder Chike Okonkwo regarding allegations of procurement fraud and corruption involving government contracts worth over 500 million naira. Did you? Amara started. No, Mensa said. I was about to send our evidence, but someone beat us to it. Someone else reported them. This wasn't us. Then who? I don't know. But Mrs. Okonkwo? Whoever it was, they just gave you the biggest weapon in this war. Chike's company is finished. The family is about to be under federal investigation. And suddenly, your assault charge looks like convenient timing to distract from their own crimes. On the TV, the news shifted to footage of Chike being let out of his office by EFCC agents, his hands behind his back, cameras flashing. Amara watched her husband, her cheating, manipulative husband, face his own reckoning and felt no satisfaction, just exhaustion. What do we do now? She asked. Now. Mensa's voice was steel. Now we fight back. Tomorrow morning, we hold a press conference. We tell your side of the story. All of it. The affair, the setup, everything. We turn you from villain to victim before they can bury you. And if Obiageli dies tonight. Mensa was silent for a moment. Then we pray that the truth matters more than the timing. The plot just took a major twist. Who do you think tipped off the EFCC? Drop your theories in the comments. And don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe for the next chapter. This is about to get even more intense. The press conference was scheduled for 10 a.m. at the Wheatbaker Hotel in Ikoyi, neutral ground where neither family held sway. Amara spent the night before rehearsing her statement with Barrister Mensa, going over every detail, every potential question, every trap the media might set. Stick to the facts. Mensa reminded her for the 100th time as they sat in his office at 2 a.m., surrounded by empty coffee cups and legal documents. Emotion is good. You're the wronged wife, the devoted mother. But don't let anger make you say something we can't walk back. What if they ask about Obiageli? About whether I regret it? You expressed deep regret that the situation escalated to violence. You explained that you were defending yourself after being cornered in your own home. You emphasized that you never intended to harm anyone. But you also won't apologize for refusing to accept an unjust divorce settlement designed to rob you of your daughter and your dignity. He fixed her with a serious look. The key is balance. Remorseful but not guilty. Sympathetic but not weak. Amara nodded, exhausted. Her phone had been ringing constantly with unknown numbers, journalists, bloggers, people claiming to be her supporters or her critics. She'd turned it off hours ago on Mensa's advice. What's the latest on Obiageli's condition? She asked quietly. Mensa checked his own phone. Still critical but stable. She made it through the night, which is something. The doctors are saying if she survives the next 48 hours, she'll likely recover. Amara didn't know whether to feel relieved or terrified. If Obiageli lived, she was a survivor of domestic violence with Amara as her attacker. If Obiageli died, Amara became a killer. Either way, she lost. Try to sleep, Mensa said, gesturing to the leather couch in his office. We have 8 hours before we face Lego society. You need to look strong, not destroyed. But sleep wouldn't come. Amara lay on the couch staring at the ceiling, thinking about Adiz sleeping at her sister Zainab's house in Abuja, evacuated from Lagos to protect her from the media circus. Her daughter had cried when Amara explained she couldn't come home yet, couldn't go to school, couldn't have her normal life. When will things be normal again, Mummy? Amara hadn't had an answer. Dawn broke over Lagos, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that seemed obscene given the circumstances. Amara showered in Mensa's private bathroom, dressed in the outfit they'd chosen together. A simple white blouse and navy skirt, modest and professional, the colors suggesting innocence and authority in equal measure. Her phone, when she finally turned it back on, showed 247 missed calls and over 1,000 WhatsApp messages. She ignored them all except one text from Zainab. "Adiz is asking for you." She saw something online. "Call me." Amara's hands shook as she dialed. "What did she see?" she asked without preamble. Zainab's voice was tight with anger. Someone at her school showed her the video. A teacher's phone. A 7-year-old watched her mother kick her grandmother, and now the entire school is talking about it. Amara closed her eyes, fresh tears threatening. They contaminated her daughter's childhood, dragged her innocence into adult warfare. This was the cost the Okonkwo family was willing to pay to win. "Put her on," Amara said. "Mummy." Adiz's small voice broke her heart. "Why did you hurt Grandma?" How do you explain betrayal and revenge and survival to a 7-year-old? How do you make her understand that sometimes good people do bad things when they're cornered? Baby, grown-ups sometimes have very complicated problems. Grandma and I had a disagreement, and I made a mistake. I should have walked away instead of... Amara's voice cracked. "Instead of what I did. But I want you to know that I love you more than anything in this world. And everything I'm doing is to make sure we can be together." "Okay. Are you going to jail?" "No, baby. I promise you I'm going to fix this." It was a promise she had no right to make. But what else could she tell her daughter? The drive to Wheatbaker Hotel took 40 minutes through morning traffic. Mensa sat beside her in the Mercedes, reviewing notes, while his associate Kayamika sat in the front passenger seat monitoring social media on her tablet. The hashtag Justice for Obiageli is still trending, Kayamika reported. But hashtag What About Amara is gaining traction. Some feminist groups are starting to ask why no one's talking about the husband's infidelity. A few influential bloggers are questioning the timing of the EFCC raid. "That's good," Mensa said. "It means people are thinking critically instead of just reacting emotionally." There's also a hashtag Both Sides Wrong picking up steam, Kayamika continued. People saying both families are corrupt and Amara should have just left quietly. Let them say it. At least they're talking. Mensa turned to Amara. "Remember, this isn't about winning public opinion. That's impossible at this point. This is about creating enough doubt that the police hesitate to charge you, and the custody court sees you as more than just a violent woman." They arrived at Wheatbaker at 9:30 a.m. The hotel's event space had been transformed into a media circus. Cameras from every major Nigerian news outlet, bloggers with their phones, reporters from international press who'd gotten wind of the story. Someone had leaked the press conference details, and now it was bigger than they'd planned. Mensa's team had set up a simple podium with microphones, a table with water bottles, chairs for the legal team. Behind them, a banner read simply, "The truth about the Okonkwo marriage." Mrs. Okonkwo, a hotel staff member, approached nervously. "There are some people here claiming to be family who want to speak with you before the conference." Amara's stomach dropped. "Which family?" "The Okonkwo family, Ma. They say it's urgent." Mensa immediately stepped in. "Absolutely not. My client speaks to no one without legal counsel present, and certainly not to the family pressing charges against her." "Please, sir." The staff member looked genuinely distressed. "They say Mrs. Obiageli Okonkwo is here, that she insists on seeing her daughter-in-law." Time stopped. "That's impossible," Amara whispered. "She's in intensive care." But through the crowd of journalists and hotel staff, Amara saw them. Chike pushing a wheelchair, and in that wheelchair, connected to a portable oxygen tank, was Obiageli. She looked 20 years older than she had 3 days ago, her skin ashen, her elaborate wrappers replaced by a simple hospital gown and blanket. But her eyes were as sharp and calculating as ever. Behind them came Emeka and the Annies, and someone new, a woman in expensive lawyer's suit carrying a briefcase that probably cost more than Amara's car. "What is this?" Mensa demanded, moving to block their approach. "Your client is supposed to be hospitalized." "My client," the woman lawyer said coolly. signed herself out against medical advice because she has something to say. And she wants to say it here, now, in front of the media. Unless you prefer we hold our own press conference next door. It was a power play, a hijacking of Amara's moment. The journalist had already noticed. Cameras swinging toward the wheelchair, microphones extending. Mensa leaned close to Amara. We don't have to agree to this. We can proceed with our plan. No. Amara surprised herself with the firmness in her voice. If she wants to face me in public, let her. Let everyone see what she really is. They moved into the conference room, and the energy shifted immediately. What was supposed to be Amara's vindication had become a spectacle, a confrontation. Hotel staff hurriedly arranged chairs, creating a setup that looked less like a press conference and more like a trial. Obiageli's wheelchair was positioned directly across from Amara's chair at the table, maybe 10 feet apart. The cameras loved it. Perfect visual drama. At exactly 10 a.m., Mensa stood and approached the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. We're here today because a narrative has been created about my client, Mrs. Amara Okonkwo, that is incomplete at best and deliberately misleading at worst. Before we begin, I want to state that my client deeply regrets that a family disagreement escalated to violence. However, context matters, and today we will provide that context. He yielded the podium to Amara. Her legs felt like water as she stood, but she made herself walk to the microphones with her head high. My name is Amara Okonkwo, she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. 3 days ago, I came home to find my husband in bed with another woman. That woman was Ngozi, a house girl sent to live with us by my mother-in-law, Mrs. Obiageli Okonkwo. Gasps from the journalists. Cameras flashed. This was the first time the affair had been publicly acknowledged. What I didn't know then but discovered later was that this was planned. My mother-in-law orchestrated my husband's infidelity as part of a scheme to force me out of my marriage without proper compensation, without custody of my daughter, without dignity. Lies! Aunt Ifioma shouted from her seat. All lies. Mensa held up a hand. Please, there will be time for questions and responses. Amara continued, pulling out her phone. I have evidence. Text messages between my husband and his mother discussing their plan. Security footage showing the timeline of events. Bank records proving that the divorce settlement offered to me, 5 million naira after 7 years of marriage, was deliberately insulting, designed to provoke a reaction. She was about to detail the confrontation when Obiageli spoke, her voice weak but audible through the room's sound system. May I speak? All eyes turned to the wheelchair. Obiageli looked genuinely frail, the oxygen tube in her nose, her hands trembling. It was perfect victimhood on display. I am dying, Obiageli said softly, and the room went silent. The doctors give me weeks, maybe months. My heart is failing, and the assault 3 nights ago, she paused, breathing heavily, accelerated the inevitable. So I came here today, against medical advice, because I need to say something before I meet my maker. Amara's blood ran cold. This was theater, masterful manipulation. I lied. Obiageli continued, and the room erupted in confused murmurs. Not about the assault. That happened, and I have the bruises to prove it, but about everything else. About my motives, about my son's affair, about the divorce. Chike, standing behind his mother's wheelchair, looked shocked. Emeka's face had gone pale. Even their lawyer seemed surprised. The truth is, Obiageli's voice broke with emotion that seemed devastatingly real. I was trying to protect my son from a marriage that was destroying him. Amara, you are a good woman, but you were never right for Chike. Different backgrounds, different values. I thought if I could create a situation where you would leave willingly, it would be better than years of slow poison. So you admit to orchestrating the affair? A journalist called out. I encouraged my son to find happiness elsewhere, yes. I sent Ngozi to help in the house, knowing she was young and beautiful. I hoped nature would take its course. Obiageli looked directly at Amara now, tears streaming down her face. But I never expected you to fight back so viciously. I never expected you to physically attack an old woman begging for peace in her son's home. The narrative was shifting again, being rewritten in real time. Obiageli was admitting to manipulation, while simultaneously painting herself as a misguided but loving mother who'd gone too far, versus Amara as a violent woman who'd crossed an unforgivable line. "That's not," Amara started, but Obiageli cut her off. "I forgive you," Obiageli said, and those 3 words detonated like a bomb. "I forgive you for kicking me, for putting me in the hospital, for taking away what little time I have left of my family. I forgive you because I know I pushed you to your breaking point, and I'm asking the police to drop all charges. I'm asking my family to let this go. And I'm asking you, Amara, to let my son divorce you peacefully so everyone can heal." It was brilliant, devastating. A public absolution that made Obiageli look like a saint and Amara like a monster who'd been forgiven despite being undeserving. The journalists erupted with questions, but Amara couldn't hear them over the roaring in her ears. She'd been outmaneuvered again, this time on a public stage. Mensa grabbed the microphone. "My client would like to respond." "No need." Obiageli interrupted gently. "I've said what I came to say. The truth is out now. Whatever happens next is between Amara and her conscience." Chike began wheeling his mother toward the exit, the Andes flanking them, journalists swarming. But as they passed Amara's table, Obiageli's hand shot out with surprising strength, grabbing Amara's wrist. "You think you won because of the EFCC?" Obiageli whispered, too quiet for microphones but crystal clear to Amara. "I reported Chike myself. I burned my own son to destroy you. That's how far a mother's love goes. And when I die, which will be soon, you'll live with the knowledge that you killed a woman who was already dying. How's that for victory?" She released Amara's wrist and was wheeled away, leaving Amara frozen at the table, surrounded by cameras and questions she couldn't answer, staring at the truth she hadn't seen coming. Obiageli had sacrificed everything, her son's freedom, her family's reputation, her own health, just to ensure Amara lost. And it was working. This story just went to another level. Obiageli played the ultimate card. But was she telling the truth? Comment below with your thoughts. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for the final chapters of this incredible saga. The press conference descended into chaos after Obiageli's departure. Journalists mobbed Amara with questions she couldn't answer. Cameras flashed until her vision blurred with white spots. And somewhere in confusion, Barrister Mensah physically pulled her away from the podium and through a service exit. They ended up in a hotel storage room surrounded by folded tablecloths and stacked chairs, both breathing heavily like they'd run a marathon. "That woman," Mensah said, pacing the small space, "is the most dangerous client I've never represented. She just committed professional suicide to take you down with her." Amara sank onto a stack of linens, her mind reeling. Did she really report Chike to the EFCC? Her own son. "I'll find out. But if she did..." Mensah shook his head in grudging admiration. "Then she's playing a game we haven't even understood yet. Sacrificing her son's freedom to make you look worse? That's not just revenge. That's scorched earth." Amara's phone buzzed insistently. She'd turned it back on after the conference, and now messages flooded in from numbers she didn't recognize. "You attacked a dying woman? You're sick. I believed you until I saw her forgive you. That takes real grace. Both of you are wrong, but at least she's taking responsibility. What about you?" The court of public opinion had rendered its verdict, and Amara had lost. "We need damage control," Mensah said, already texting his team. A follow-up statement, maybe another interview with a sympathetic journalist. No. Amara stood up, surprising herself with sudden clarity. "No more press. No more fighting in public. I'm done playing this game. Mrs. Okonkwo, if you stop fighting now, they win. Completely. They've already won, Barrister. Can't you see? Every move I make, she's 3 steps ahead. When I have evidence, she admits it but reframes it. When I fight back, she forgives me. When I try to expose her corruption, she's already exposed to herself." Amara felt exhausted down to her bones. "I can't beat her. Not this way." "Then what do you want to do?" Amara thought about Adiz and Abuja, watching her mother become Lagos's villain. She thought about the years ahead. Court battles, custody fights. Her daughter growing up in the shadow of the scandal. She thought about Obiageli's words. When I die, you'll live with the knowledge that you killed a woman who was already dying. I want to see her, Amara said. Privately. Just the two of us. No lawyers, no cameras, no family. I need to understand why she hates me this much. Mensa looked at her like she'd suggested jumping off 3rd Mainland Bridge. That's a terrible idea. She'll manipulate you, record you, use anything you say. Let her. I'm already destroyed. What more can she take? Amara met his eyes. Set up the meeting. Please. 3 hours later, after Mensa had exhausted every argument against it and Amara had refused to budge, arrangements were made. Obiageli had agreed immediately, suspiciously immediately, to meet at a neutral location. Father Emmanuel's office at Holy Cross Catholic Church in Victoria Island. The priest was a respected mediator in Lagos society, someone both families had connections to. His presence would ensure no physical violence, but he'd agreed to leave the women alone for their conversation. Amara arrived first, driven by Solomon in the early evening, as Lagos traffic began its nightly stranglehold. The church was peaceful, almost empty at this hour, just a few people praying in the main sanctuary. Father Emmanuel's office was in a separate building, access through a garden filled with bougainvillea, and the sound of crickets beginning their night chorus. My daughter. Father Emmanuel greeted her, his white collar bright against his black shirt. He was in his 70s, with kind eyes that had witnessed countless confessions. Are you sure about this meeting? Sometimes wounds need time before they can be discussed. I'm sure, Father. He nodded, leading her to his office, a simple room with wooden furniture, a crucifix on the wall, and photos of past church events. I'll be right outside if you need me, and I'll pray for you both. Amara sat in one of the chairs facing the priest's desk and waited. Through the window, she watched the sun setting over Lagos, painting everything in shades of gold and crimson, ending the day the way it had started, with beauty that felt wrong given the circumstances. The door opened and Obiageli entered. Without the wheelchair this time, walking slowly with a cane, the oxygen tank replaced by what looked like a small medical device in her handbag, probably a portable heart monitor. She'd changed from the hospital gown into traditional attire, a simple but elegant wrapper and blouse in deep purple. They stared at each other for a long moment. Two women who destroyed each other without ever really knowing why. Thank you for coming, Amara said finally. Obiageli sat down carefully in the chair across from her. Thank Father Emmanuel. He's the only person in Lagos whose opinion I still care about. Even after you destroyed your own son's company? Especially after. Obiageli's smile was sad. Did you really think I'd let Chike profit from corruption? I built him up. I can tear him down. That's a mother's prerogative. You reported him to punish me. I reported him because he deserved it. The punishment for you is just a bonus. Obiageli shifted in her chair, wincing slightly. The doctors say I have maybe 6 months, if I'm lucky. My heart is failing, has been for years. The kick didn't cause it. Amara, it just accelerated the timeline. Is that supposed to make me feel better? It's supposed to make you understand that I'm not your victim. I'm dying anyway. But at least I get to choose how I spend my last months, watching my son face consequences and my daughter-in-law suffer for her disrespect. The honesty was almost refreshing after days of manipulation and performance. Why do you hate me so much? Amara asked, the question that had haunted her since the beginning. I gave you a granddaughter. I took care of your son. I respected your traditions, even when they hurt me. What did I do that was so unforgivable? Obiageli was quiet for a long time, staring at her hands folded in her lap. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, less sharp, more human. You reminded me of myself, she said softly. When I was young, before I learned to bend and break myself into what a Nigerian wife should be. You had education, independence, opinions. You challenged Chike when he was wrong instead of just obeying. You made him happy in a way I never made his father happy because you were partners, not master and servant. Amara hadn't expected this. So you hated me for being happy? I hated you for having choices I never had. Obiageli looked up, and her eyes were wet. My husband, Chike's father. He had 6 mistresses over our marriage, 6 that I knew about. And I couldn't leave because where would I go? Back to my family in shame? Into poverty with 3 children? So I stayed and I smiled, and I made sure my sons understood that this was how marriage worked. The woman endures. The woman sacrifices. The woman never, ever kicks her mother-in-law. The pieces clicked into place. This wasn't really about Amara at all. This was about a woman who'd suffered silently for 40 years, watching another woman refuse to suffer the same way. That's not my fault, Amara said gently. That you had a terrible marriage doesn't mean I deserve to have one too. I know. Obiageli wiped her eyes. In my rational mind, I know that, but in my heart, I wanted you to hurt the way I hurt. I wanted you to learn that love is enough, that fighting back only makes things worse, that survival means submission. Instead, I kicked you. Obiageli laughed. Actually laughed, a sound Amara had never heard from her. Yes, you kicked me. And do you know what I thought in that moment? Not, how dare she, or she'll pay for this. I thought, good, at least someone finally fought back. Amara felt tears on her own cheeks now. Then why didn't you stop? Why the press conference, the forgiveness performance, all of it? Because my sons are watching. My granddaughter is watching. Lego Society is watching. And I need them to see that a woman who raises her hand against her elder faces consequences, even if part of me admires her for it. Obiageli leaned forward. I'm dying, Amara, but the traditions I'm protecting, the respect, the hierarchy, the order, that has to outlive me. If I let you win, I'm saying everything I've endured was for nothing. So we both lose. Obiageli agreed. They sat in Father Emmanuel's office as darkness fell outside. 2 women trapped in a war neither wanted but neither could end. Finally, Obiageli reached into her handbag and pulled out an envelope. This is the deed to the house in Banana Island. It's in your name now. And documents transferring a trust fund to a D's. 20 million naira untouchable by Chike or anyone else. She'll get it when she turns 25. Amara stared at the envelope, afraid to touch it. Why? Because I'm not a monster, despite what you think. Because Adiz is my granddaughter, and she deserves better than to be used as a weapon. And because Obiageli's voice cracked. Because maybe in another life, another Nigeria, we could have been allies instead of enemies. What do you want in return? Nothing. This is my last act as Adiz's grandmother. Take it. Use it to build a life for yourself and my granddaughter after I'm gone. Obiageli stood up slowly, leaning on her cane. But understand this. Publicly, I will continue to paint you as the villain. I will forgive you again and again until I die, making you look worse each time, because that's what Lagos expects, and I won't give them the satisfaction of seeing me weak. Even though privately you know I was justified, especially because I know you were justified. The world isn't fair to women like us. Amara, the only question is whether we perpetuate the unfairness or die trying to change it. I chose perpetuation. You chose rebellion. We'll both pay the price. Obiageli walked to the door, paused with her hand on the handle. One more thing. The EFCC investigation? I didn't report Chike. I lied at the press conference. Amara's head snapped up. Then who? Ngozi, the housegirl. Obiageli's smile was grim. Turns out she was more ambitious than I thought. She recorded everything. Chike's corrupt dealings, my plans, all of it. Then she went to the authorities hoping for a reward, and possibly Chike for herself once you were gone. She played us both. The door closed behind Obiageli, leaving Amara alone with the envelope and the crushing weight of irony. They'd all been manipulated by the person they'd thought was a pawn. Father Emmanuel came in quietly, his face concerned. Are you all right, my child? Father, is it possible for everyone in the story to be wrong? Not wrong, he said gently. Just human. Hurt people, and forgiveness is harder than revenge. Amara left the church as night fully claimed Lagos, the envelope in her bag, feeling heavier than paper and ink should feel. She had a house now, security for her daughter, a kind of closure even if it came wrapped in continued public condemnation. But she'd also lost her marriage, her reputation, and soon she'd lose her mother-in-law to death, a woman she'd hated and pitted and somehow understood in equal measure. Solomon drove her home through midnight Lagos, and Amara watched the city lights blur past, thinking about how none of this had turned out the way anyone planned. Obiageli had wanted her gone, but ended up respecting her. Chike had wanted both women, but lost everything. Ngozi had wanted security, but likely faced criminal charges herself for blackmail and evidence tampering. And Amara had wanted justice, but got something more complicated: survival without victory. Her phone rang. Barrister Mensah. Good news. The police are dropping the assault investigation. Obiageli's public forgiveness made it impossible to prosecute, and the DA doesn't want to waste resources on a case the victim doesn't want pursued. That's good, Amara said numbly. There's something else. Chike's lawyer reached out. He wants to settle the divorce quickly and quietly. Full custody to you, generous child support, division of assets that's actually fair. The EFCC investigation has him desperate to look cooperative everywhere else. Tell him I accept. You don't want to negotiate for more? We have leverage now. I'm tired, barrister. I just want it over. The call ended. Through the car window, Amara saw they were passing the hospital where Obiageli had been treated, where this nightmare had escalated from private betrayal to public warfare. The building's windows glowed in the darkness like a constellation of small emergencies, each room holding someone's crisis, someone's pain. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Dr. Okafor from Lagoon Hospital. Mrs. Obiageli Okonkwo has requested to see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. She says it's urgent. Her condition has worsened overnight. Amara stared at the message until the screen went dark. Tomorrow would be 6 days since she'd kicked her mother-in-law. 6 days of war, manipulation, revelation, and strange understanding. She had a terrible feeling about what day 7 would bring. Will Obiageli survive? What's the final twist? Comment your predictions below and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a conclusion of this incredible story. Hit that like button if you're still here. The call came at 6:23 a.m., before Amara's alarm, before the sun had fully claimed the Lagos sky. Dr. Okafor's voice was professional but strained, the tone of someone who delivered bad news too many times to count. Mrs. Okonkwo, you need come now. Mrs. Obiageli's condition has deteriorated rapidly. She's asking for you specifically. She says she won't. She won't let go until she sees you. Amara was dressed and in the car within 15 minutes. Solomon navigating empty early morning streets with the kind of speed that suggested he knew what was at stake. The city looked different in dawn light. Softer, quieter, like Lagos was holding its breath. Lagoon Hospital's ICU was hushed when Amara arrived, the fluorescent lights seeming dimmer than before, or maybe that was just exhaustion playing tricks with her perception. She'd barely slept, kept awake by Obiageli's envelope and the weight of their conversation at Father Emmanuel's office. Maybe in another life, we could have been allies instead of enemies. Chike was in the waiting area, looking like he'd aged a decade in a week. The EFCC investigation had stripped away his usual confidence, leaving behind something raw and uncertain. When he saw Amara, he stood up but didn't approach. She's been calling for you all night, he said hoarsely. Wouldn't let any of us stay. Just kept saying your name. Where's Emeka? The aunties. I sent them home. This isn't. He gestured helplessly. This isn't about family politics anymore. My mother is dying, and all she wants is to see the woman she tried to destroy. There was something in his voice, not quite apology, but acknowledgement, recognition that they'd all played parts in a tragedy no one won. The affair, Amara said quietly. Did you love her? Ngozi. Chike looked away. I don't even know. I think I just wanted to feel powerful in my own life, instead of living according to my mother's script. But I chose the wrong way to rebel. And I hurt you. I'm sorry doesn't cover it, but I am sorry. It was the first genuine apology she'd heard from him in 7 years of marriage. It came too late to save anything, but Amara acknowledged it with a nod. Dr. Okafor appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Amara Okonkwo, she's ready for you. The ICU room was darker than before, machines beeping softer, like everything was winding down. Obiageli lay in the bed looking impossibly small. The warrior queen reduced to fragile mortality. But her eyes opened when Amara entered, still sharp despite everything. "Close the door," Obiageli whispered, "and come closer." I don't have the strength to shout. Amara did, standing beside the bed where tubes and wires connected Obiageli to machines fighting to keep her alive. The heart monitor showed an irregular rhythm, skipping beats like a drummer losing time. "The envelope I gave you," Obiageli began. "There's more. A letter inside, addressed to D's, to be opened when she turns 18. What does it say?" "The truth. All of it. What I did, why I did it, how I was wrong." Obiageli's breathing was labored, each word clearly costing her. I want her to know that her grandmother was complicated. Not good, not evil, just human, trapped by traditions that hurt her, and then enforcing those same traditions on others. Why tell her at 18? Because by then she'll be old enough to understand complexity, to see that people can be both victim and villain, to hopefully make better choices than we did. Obiageli reached out a trembling hand, and after a moment's hesitation, Amara took it. "I need to tell you something. About the kick." Amara's stomach dropped. "Obiageli, it saved my life." The older woman's smile was wan but genuine. "The doctors told me yesterday. I had a blood clot forming in my leg. From sitting too much, poor circulation from my heart condition. If you hadn't kicked me exactly where you did, it wouldn't have dislodged. It would have traveled to my lungs or brain and killed me instantly. Instead, the impact broke it apart. The pieces were small enough to filter through my system with medication." The irony was so absurd Amara almost laughed. "So I didn't give you a heart attack?" "Oh, you did. But you also prevented a stroke or pulmonary embolism that would have killed me in my sleep." Obiageli coughed, the sound wet and painful. "The heart attack was from my disease, from stress, from years of carrying rage I never processed. You were just a trigger, not the cause. The doctors confirmed it. I made them put it in writing." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm about to die. Really die this time, not perform it, and I don't want you spending the rest of your life thinking you killed me." Obiageli's grip on Amara's hand tightened with surprising strength. "What's killing me is my own poison heart, literally and metaphorically. Not you. Never you." Tears streamed down Amara's face. "I shouldn't have kicked you. No matter what you did, I shouldn't have. But you did, and I'm glad." Obiageli's eyes were bright, with tears now too. "Because for one moment, a woman stood up to me instead of bowing. For one moment. I saw what I could have been if I'd had your courage 40 years ago. That's worth dying for." "Don't say that. You're going to—" But Amara couldn't finish the lie. The monitors were slowing, the beeps growing further apart. "Listen to me carefully." Obiageli's voice was fading. "Lagos will remember me as the wrong mother-in-law who forgave her attacker. Fine. Let them. But you remember me as the woman who admitted she was wrong, who tried, at the very end, to break the cycle instead of perpetuating it. I will. I promise. And Amara, teach Adiz to kick back when she's cornered, but also teach her to know the difference between self-defense and revenge. I never learned that lesson." Obiageli's breathing was becoming irregular, shallow. "One more thing. In my jewelry box at home, there's a ring, gold with 3 emeralds. It was my grandmother's, passed down to me. I was supposed to give it to Chike's wife when I died. You don't have to. I want you to have it. Not because you were a perfect daughter-in-law, but because you were brave enough to be yourself, even when it cost you everything." Obiageli's eyes were closing now. That deserves to be honored. The heart monitor's beeping was slowing, irregular spikes becoming valleys. Amara squeezed the older woman's hand, this woman who tried to destroy her and somehow, in the end, freed her. "I forgive you," Amara said through her tears. "For all of it, I forgive you." Obiageli's lips curved into one last smile. "I know you do. That's why you're better than me." Her voice was barely a whisper now. "Tell Father Emmanuel, tell him I'm ready Tell him I finally understand. The heart monitor flatlined, a single sustained tone that seemed to fill the entire room, the entire hospital, the entire city. Doctors and nurses rushed in, but Amara knew it was over. Obiageli Okonkwo had choreographed her exit as carefully as she choreographed everything else. Die with her enemy's hand in hers, redemption and manipulation intertwined until the very end. 1 week later, the funeral was massive, as befitting a woman of Obiageli's social standing. Holy Cross Catholic Church was packed with Lagos society. Politicians, business leaders, society wives, everyone who'd ever known or feared or respected the matriarch of the Okonkwo family. Amara sat in the front row, because Chike had insisted, because Obiageli's written wishes specifically requested it, because somehow in death the older woman was still controlling the narrative. She wore black with a purple wrapper, Obiageli's favorite color, and dark sunglasses that hid her swollen eyes. Adi sat beside her, flown back from Abuja for the funeral, small and confused but holding her mother's hand tightly. They'd talked the night before, as honestly as you could talk to a 7-year-old about death and forgiveness and complicated family love. Grandma wasn't perfect, Amara had said carefully, but she loved you very much. And sometimes people hurt each other, even when they don't mean to. The important thing is try and forgive and do better. Like you did. Adiz had asked with childlike wisdom. You forgave Grandma even though she was mean to you? Yes, baby. Just like that. Now, listening to Father Emmanuel's eulogy, Amara felt the weight of the past week. The warfare, the revelations, the strange understanding reached too late. The priest spoke of Obiageli's charity work, her devotion to family, her strength in adversity. He didn't mention the manipulation, or the betrayal, or the corruption. Death had given her the rehabilitation life never did. But then Father Emmanuel said something that made Amara sit up straighter. In her final hours, Mrs. Okonkwo asked me to share a message. She said, and I quote, "Tell the women of Lagos that tradition without compassion is just cruelty wearing culture's mask. Tell them I learned this too late. But they don't have to. Tell them to break the cycles that break them, and forgive the women who came before who didn't know how." The church was silent. Then, slowly, a sound emerged, women weeping. Not the performative crying of professional mourners, but genuine grief for a woman who'd finally spoken a truth many of them carried silently. After the service, as the crowd filed out toward the cemetery, Chike approached Amara. He held a small box. "The ring," he said simply, "from her jewelry box, like she wanted. I also found this." He handed her a letter sealed with "Tio Amara," to be read after my funeral, written in Obiageli's elegant handwriting. Amara took both items, her hands trembling. "What happens now? With us? The divorce finalizes next week. You keep the house, custody of Adiz, everything we agreed on." Chike looked at their daughter, playing quietly nearby with one of her cousins. "I'm leaving Lagos for a while. The EFCC investigation, my reputation, I need to rebuild somewhere fresh. Maybe Abuja, maybe London. But I want to see Adiz regularly, if you'll allow it. She needs her father, despite everything." "Despite everything," he agreed. "And Amara, thank you for being there at the end with my mother. The nurses said she died peacefully because you held her hand. That means something." He walked away, and Amara was left standing in the church courtyard with a ring box and a letter from a dead woman who'd been her greatest enemy and, somehow, her most unlikely teacher. She waited until she was home, until Adiz was asleep, until the house was quiet except for the hum of the air conditioning and the distant sound of Lagos nightlife, before she opened the letter. The handwriting was shakier than the envelope, written clearly during Obiageli's final hours. "Dearest Amara, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Good. I was tired. I'm writing to you because the living deserve explanations the dead are usually too proud to give. You asked me why I hated you. I told you about jealousy, about tradition, about my own bitter marriage. All true, but there's more. When Chike brought you home 7 years ago, I saw immediately that you would change him, make him softer, more questioning, less obedient to the family hierarchy I'd built. I couldn't allow that. Not because I didn't want him happy, but because his happiness threatened the story I'd told myself for 40 years. That suffering was noble, that endurance was virtue, that women who fought back were destroyed. You proved me wrong just by existing, and I hated you for it. But here's what I learned in my final days. Being wrong isn't the worst thing. Being unable to admit it is. Being so committed to your pain that you inflicted on others is. I did both. I'm sorry. The ring I gave you belonged to my grandmother, who was married at 15 to a man of 60. She told me once, just before she died, that she'd spent 50 years hating her life and only her last 5 learning to live it. Don't be like me, she said. Don't waste your time on hate. I didn't listen, but maybe you will. Raise a D's to question everything, even tradition. Teach her that respect earned is worth more than respect demanded. Show her that forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, and that sometimes the bravest thing a woman can do is walk away. And when she asks about me, and she will, tell her the truth. Tell her I was complicated. Tell her I was wrong. But also tell her that I changed at the very end because of her mother's courage. That's my legacy now. Not the perfect matriarch Legos will remember, but the flawed woman who finally learned to release the bitterness eating her alive. Thank you for that gift. Thank you for kicking me, literally and metaphorically, into awareness. I forgive you for hurting me. I hope you forgive me for hurting you first. Live well. Love freely. Break the cycles I couldn't. Obiageli. Amara read the letter 3 times, tears falling onto the paper, blurring the ink. Then she carefully folded it and placed it in the envelope with a D's letter, tucking both into her safe. Someday, her daughter would read these words and understand that family was complicated, that love could coexist with hurt, that forgiveness was harder and more important than revenge. But tonight, Amara just sat on her balcony overlooking the Lagos Lagoon, the city lights reflecting off dark water, and let herself grieve, not just for Obiageli, but for all of them. The women trapped by tradition, the men twisted by expectation, the children caught in the crossfire of generational trauma. Her phone buzzed. Barrister Mensa, the divorce is final. You're free. Free. Such a simple word for such a complicated feeling. Amara looked at the ring on her finger now. 3 emeralds set in gold, a legacy of pain transformed into possibility. She thought about the house she now owned, the trust fund for her daughter, the lessons learned through warfare and forgiveness. She'd lost a marriage, lost a reputation, at least temporarily, lost a mother-in-law who'd been enemy and teacher in equal measure. But she'd gained something more valuable, the knowledge that she could survive anything, that she could fight back when cornered, extend grace when it mattered, and still stand upright when the dust settled. The phone buzzed again. This time, a text from an unknown number. Hi, Mrs. Amara. This is Ngozi. I know you probably hate me, but I wanted you to know I told the EFCC everything because what they did to both of us was wrong. I'm sorry for my part in hurting you. I hope you find peace. Amara stared at the message for a long time. Then, surprised at herself, she typed back, I hope you find peace too. We were all used. The only difference is who admitted it. She hit send and put the phone away. Tomorrow, she would pick up a D's and take her for chocolate and strawberry ice cream. They would start planning their future. Maybe staying in Lagos. Maybe relocating to somewhere with fewer memories. They would talk about school and ballet and normal 7-year-old concerns. But tonight, Amara sat with her ghosts. The woman she'd been when this started, naive and trusting. The woman she'd become, scarred but stronger. And the woman she'd buried today, complicated and cruel and strangely brave at the end. Rest well. Obiageli, Amara whispered into the Lagos night. And thank you for the war, for the lessons, for finally letting go. The city lights twinkled like stars, and somewhere in the distance, church bells tolled midnight. A new day was beginning. Amara was ready. What an incredible journey. From betrayal to warfare to understanding and finally peace. This story shows that healing isn't always pretty. Forgiveness isn't always simple. And sometimes the people who hurt us most also teach us the most important lessons. If this story moved you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Echoes of Africa for more powerful stories like this. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they can survive anything. Comment below. What was the biggest lesson you took from Amara and Obiageli's story? Thank you for watching until the very end. Remember, break the cycles that break you, forgive when you can, and never be afraid to kick back when cornered. We'll see you in the next story.